The Huffington Post laid out a list of some of the Republicans who might stand up to Donald Trump. So let's break it down here a little bit. They say Rand Paul, a libertarian lone wolf, says he will block Senate confirmations if Trump nominates either former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani or former UN Ambassador John Bolton to be Secretary of State. Now, we had touched on this a little bit previously. I had mentioned how much Rand Paul hates Rudy Giuliani and John Bolton because they're incredibly, incredibly hawkish, and he's so much better than the other Republicans on foreign policy. But now he's made it official. And what he said is, look, if you nominate either one of them, I'm going to block them. I'm going to block them, and I'm going to come after you, and I don't care that you're a Republican, you have an R in front of your name, and so do I. Irrelevant, I'm going to block them. So kudos to Rand Paul on that, and I happen to agree with him 100%. John Bolton is the worst of the neocons, and the neocons are pretty much all bad. So, this is a guy who still defends the war in Iraq. This is a guy who wants regime change, in Iran, and he's pushing for it right now. He said the other day, yeah, we should do regime change in Iran. And Trump, at least in part, ran on a non-interventionist platform. The other half of the time, he was massively interventionist, and he said, I want to bomb the shit out of them, talking about ISIS, and he said, I want to take out their families, kill civilians in the Middle East. But the other half of the time, he said, look, let's spend on infrastructure here. There's no need to do all this adventurism and this nation building overseas. So if he nominates John Bolton to any position, as I said recently, that means that he was just talking. It was just rhetoric during the campaign. It shows he's not serious about being a non-interventionist if John Bolton gets any pick, and Rudy Giuliani too, to a lesser degree. But Rudy Giuliani is more, hawkish, but inexperienced than just a pure hawk. You have a pure hawk for John Bolton, and that would be a disaster. All right, then we go to Lindsey Graham. They say South Carolina's Lindsey Graham has started publicly outlining places he might be willing to oppose Trump. He is against the Mexican border wall and is delivering warnings against Trump's intention to revoke legal status for undocumented immigrants brought here as children, although that would not require congressional approval. Graham, a traditional Republican foreign policy hawk, strongly disagrees with Trump's attempt to improve ties with Russia. Quote, I'm going to be kind of a hard ass on Russia, Graham told reporters recently. We can't sit on the sidelines and let cyber attacks be blamed on Russia. We can't sit on the sidelines and let cyber attacks blamed on Russia go unanswered. All right, now with Lindsey Graham, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag. So when he says, as we covered recently, hey, I'm not gonna take away the filibuster. I would vote to keep the filibuster. There, I agree with him 100%. Because if they vote to get rid of the filibuster, you have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, or Republican presidency, they will go buck wild. They'll cut taxes for the rich 912 times over. They'll eliminate regulatory bodies. It'll be just an utter disaster. It would be terrible. So Lindsey Graham stepped up to the plate and he's like, yeah, not really that big a fan of Trump. So here's what I'd do. I would make sure that the filibuster is still there. On that one, I applaud him. On making sure that the children of undocumented immigrants can stay in the country, I applaud him. So there's two areas where I say, okay, I'm with you, Lindsey Graham. But then when he gets on to, hey, we should be more hawkish with Russia. Now, look, he's not technically saying that. He's framing it as, there were Russian cyber attacks during the election. No evidence of that whatsoever. But make no mistake about it, that actually is a reason why he's upset with Trump and he doesn't like Trump, is that Trump has basically been more leaning in the direction of peace and negotiations with Russia as opposed to escalation. Hillary Clinton wanted escalation. She wanted a no-fly zone in Syria and a safe zone in Syria, which needlessly escalates with Russia and marches us towards World War III. So you had Donald Trump who said, how about we don't do that? And Lindsey Graham's like, no, I want to do that. I'm a hawk and I want to do that. I love war. So on that one, I agree way more with Trump than I agree with Lindsey Graham. See, again, it's a mixed bag. Some of them I agree more with Trump. Some of them I agree more with the other Republicans. And then finally here they say other senators who might defy Trump are Arizona's John McCain and Jeff Flake, Nebraska's Ben Sasse, Florida's Marco Rubio, Maine's Susan Collins, and Alaska's Lisa Murkowski. And they go on to explain that some of them are from more Democratic-leaning states, so they kind of have to buck a Republican president in order to get reelection. It would be a smart thing for them to do if they wanted to be reelected. And also, some of them have a long time before they have their next election. And so they got all the time in the world to even do stuff now. And if they mess up now, well, then down the road, they could turn around and act like it didn't happen or say that was super long ago. Because some of these people, it's 2022, the next time they're up for re-election. So they got carte blanche in their mind. And they might actually stand up to Trump on a variety of things. Now, again, with Trump, it's a mixed bag. I don't know, and you don't know, exactly which direction he's going to go in, because he's contradicted himself 800 times, and nobody really knows what he deep down believes and will do. So it's an open question. When he talks about draining the swamp and trying to limit lobbyists' influence, I go, oh, great. You should do that. But then Republicans might turn around and block that because they're massively, massively corrupt. And there's also been signs that he's not going to do that because he appointed so many lobbyists to his transition team. By the way, there was a story that said, oh, no, Mike Pence took over for the head of the transition team and he's going to fire all the lobbyists. When you read on in the article, what do they say? They fired one lobbyist. Trump has 4,000 positions to fill. We did a story the other day where we outlined at least a dozen lobbyists. What about the rest of them? So there's no way they're actually firing all the lobbyists. It would be probably impossible to fire all the lobbyists. So some of the things Trump is better on, some of the things the other Republicans are better on. But the most important thing of all is that filibuster. Because if that filibuster falls, the amount of damage that can be done is endless. So at least on that front, we should thank Rand Paul, because he's likely going to be on the right side of that one. In fact, I'm certain, even though he hasn't come out and said it. We should thank Rand Paul, Lindsey Graham, and potentially John McCain, too, because those are going to be the three. I think all they need is 3 dissenting votes to keep the filibuster. So what that means is, just like under Obama, you're going to need a 60-vote supermajority to get something done. Whereas, again, like we all thought, and it would make sense, like, what do you mean? A simple majority should get everything done. If you have 51 votes, that's it. That's all you need, right? Well, it should be like that, but the Republicans decided, no, we're going to make the Democrats, when they have had control, they're going to need 60 votes to get anything done. So now that it's a Republican administration, you know how they are. It's super easy to see them going, yeah, anyway, we were just fucking around. You need 60 votes to get something done. We should only have 51. And they were going to, flip back to that. But some of them are dissenting. Some of them are standing up and saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep it at 60, because some of them don't agree with Trump and some of them are going to buck the party. So it's a scary time in America when it's like Lindsey Graham, who's the last hope to keep us, somewhat intact. And you can't give a guy like that much power, Donald Trump, because only bad things are going to happen. But again, so the filibuster needs to stay, I would argue. But then also, there are some issues where I think Trump is better than the other Republicans. And again, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of his time in office unfolds and which direction he goes in. There are signs in both directions, and I'm going to get to more on that later in the show.